Hey, thank you guys for stopping in to Off the Blockchain with Stevie Jane O'Coin. I'm hanging out tonight with my friend Zach Buff, and we're gonna just have a chat. Hopefully, you guys will enjoy our conversation. And next time, it'll be streaming live, so you can join in too. Hey,
Hey Stevie, how are you doing?
one. All
Great.
right. So,
So I'm your first one.
yeah, exactly. So, I'm a little new to this. I don't really know what to do next, but let's start with introducing you. Tell me who you are.
Yeah, so I go by Staked Wealth on Twitter, Telegram. My website is stakedwealth.com. I've been a Hexagon for about a year and a half, and since getting into Hex and actually wrapping my head around everything and all the intricacies, I figured I would kind of pay it forward and kind of support the next generation of Hexagons by putting together a guide. And in addition to my website being like a layman's guide to Hex, I also do free bookings, like free calls, I guess, where I can do one-on-ones and answer people's questions. So I just generally help with onboarding any way I can. I spread stickers around town. So in our area where we live, you might see these stickers.
I'll like drive past one or walk past one. I'll know it's you now.
It's usually like on any like overpasses, bridges, parks, any sidewalks, stuff like that. Yeah, bus stops.
Anyone that'll hold a sticker. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, exactly.
Cool. So, how long have you been in crypto for? Like, when did you get into the space?
Yeah, great intro question. I got in 2017. I bought Ethereum at $40 and wrote it up to $100 and sold it at $100, thinking I was a genius. And and then ended up spending the remainder of 2017 losing everything on margin trading. So it taught me that you're not the smartest person, and you really hard to time these things, but you're better off hodling. Because after I sold that Ethereum position, I ended up like just jumping in and out of everything, and like slowly but surely like dwindling down my purse. So yeah, I learned a lot of lessons. Um, got in 2017, blew up by early 2018, and through all that, I was actually following Richard Hart,
Yeah,
but
it's a good
unfortunately,
advice. Yeah.
yeah, and he was like, well, it's funny because when he called the top in 2017, or like Christmas 2017, um, I was following a lot of people, so there's like a lot of noise, and unfortunately, like he was the one person I ignored. So when he was calling the top at 20K, I was buying. um, and so yeah, so I mean, lesson learned. Like, don't bet against Richard. Listen to everything he has to say.
He's a smart man, that's for sure.
For sure.
Yeah, so I really, really love that what you're doing and appreciate that because I'm really new to this space. Like,
Of course.
kind of my story is I just was introduced recently by a friend and kind of noticed that it's just kind of like overwhelming to start if you don't really
Yes.
know anything, right?
Yeah.
So that's where I am. I'm starting at the very beginning and I'm just kind of like working my way up. So
Well, you're so lucky to start with Hex, and I mean, I hope. Like, did you have any like bad experiences with finance or investments or crypto in the past, or no?
not yet,
Yeah.
knock on wood.
Perfect. Yeah, of course.
So I haven't made any mistakes yet. I only like I only own Hex right now. So
Perfect.
I yeah, and then I'm just kind of going from there and learning as I go. Do you have any advice for like something that you wish you knew when you were just starting out?
Yeah, I was actually on Reddit today on the Hex subreddit answering questions, and this guy one guy was he had posed a question about staking and staking ladders, and though there's a lot you can say about this, the only input that I added to the thread was if I could make stakes again, if I could make a staking ladder all over again, I would just do it all within the Hedron encapsulated stakes. I would rather make stakes that are encapsulated rather than in the native hex portal, just because it just expands your stakes to so much more utility and tool in options.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, like I mean, I think when you first get in, and you just download a MetaMask, um, you're not always using the best security. So I wish I had generated my keys like on a hardware wallet. So I wish I had started with a hardware wallet, generated keys offline, and and then if I had made those encapsulated stakes, I could have like transferred the stakes over to a very secure wallet. Whereas like a lot of people just get on MetaMask, take a screenshot of my keys, and really disregard the security that kind of bites you in the butt down the line. So
Yeah.
yeah, security is very important.
Yeah, I just found out with a treasure.
Yep,
You know what? Yeah, is that what it is? I
treasure.
just
Yeah,
found out what that is, and I feel like it would be a really good investment to get myself one. So that is definitely on my list because
yeah,
yeah, security is just one thing that you can't be too safe about, really. Like, and it seems
yeah.
to be everyone's fear coming to crypto. They hear all these stories, and then they're like, "Oh yeah, I'm just gonna get, you know." Suckered in by a fake scheme or someone's going to hack into my account. But I feel like a lot of that is user error also. And
It's
what's your
majority user. Yeah, it's majority user, but it's really important. And I assume like with your channel and as you expand and perhaps do more content creation, I assume it would be more like female oriented. Is that a fair assumption?
I'm here for anybody
Yeah.
who wants to learn, but yeah,
Okay.
probably.
Well, we need more like female voices in the community. We need more like you know, it's, I mean, crypto's to some degree like stigmatized as it's like for nerds and
Yeah.
guys, and they're toxic. So I'd love to see more female voices in
Yeah.
crypto in Hex. And for example, my ex that I got into Hex, you know, because she didn't really see the significance of it as much as I did, she didn't take her security as seriously. And I mean, thankfully, like she's been okay, but I just like I see the mistakes people make, like especially women that aren't taking it as seriously, and I just wish perhaps they had, just perhaps they had like more female influencers around them that would, motivate them to take this more seriously. And because they
Thank
don't
you.
have
Yeah,
anybody, and they have,
I would love.
yeah,
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying. I would love for the space to be more inclusive, and I feel like it's not a matter of anyone in the space not being inclusive. It's a matter of not knowing how to break into the space. So that's what we're both here to do, I think. And I hope that I can be a good female influence and kind of
yeah.
include a lot more of a female presence in the space as well.
Yeah, what I'm most passionate about is like my whole mission with like my onboarding through calls, stickers, YouTube, anything else I do, meetups in Canada.
Mhm.
It's to get more millennials in. I'd like to see people our age, Gen Zs, actually participate in this great wealth transfer. Um, and unfortunately, a lot of the calls I'm booked for, I get booked and maybe every couple days. Nowadays, I got booked a lot more in the bull market, but now it's a lot quieter. But I talked to a lot of boomers, and I mean, nothing against boomers. I know help them, and they're great. But I just wish the statistic was skewed more towards a lot of younger people taking initiative and getting involved. So I try to. That's my angle. I try to attack from the perspective of, hey, young people, like let's get your finances together, like let's think about your finances, let's think about becoming financially free, and explore crypto. That's what I'm passionate about.
Yeah, I love on your website it says make your money work for you, and that is so brilliant. So I
It's true.
agree.
Yeah, yeah. So, but yeah, I got into Hex in like January of 21. It was actually a pretty neat story. It was actually New Year's Eve, and I was sitting at home during the afternoon and didn't really have much going on until the evening. And Richard came on stream, and I mean on New Year's Day, like no one's like streaming. You know?
Yeah, I'm
So
sure.
yeah, so like there's not much activity on YouTube, and I just noticed his stream, even though like I had unsubscribed. So I was like subscribed to Richard through 2017, 2018. And then in 2019, when he launched Hex, I was literally there for the launch of Hex, but it went over my head. like the stuff they were talking about, like MetaMask and adoption amplifier and claiming for Bitcoin holders. It just went over my head, and I'm like, you know what, this is a little bit like too complicated. I don't think this is for me. So I'm gonna like unsubscribe and just decline life-changing gains. And then only about a year and a bit later did I like see him stream again, and I'm like, oh, like I remember this. Like, let's see how it's done since.
Yeah.
And yeah, it went up. I forget how many X's it was up like since I got in, but yeah, at that point I was already it was 2 pennies. It was like yeah, it hit like 2 pennies on New Year's Day, so it was like a really big thing. So that's why they streamed. Um, and then I actually listened to the whole thing, and I'm like, hey, you know what, this is not a scam. It's been around for this long. If it was a scam, it would have already been over with, a long time before.
Yeah.
um so now that it has a track record of like a year and a little bit, and it has this good price performance, and now it has a community, like, let me actually look into it. So I started looking into it, and dollar cost averaging since about January of 21, when it was around 2 pennies. Yeah.
That's
How about you?
amazing.
You just got in? Yeah.
Yeah, literally set everything up. Goodness, like not very long ago, within the last month. Just made videos, like post them today about how to create my Coinbase and
Mm.
MetaMask. So very, very new. And it's just been like really fun to kind of learn the evolution of where crypto is going. Because like from
Right.
Bitcoin to Ethereum to Hex, like what's next, right? Um,
Pulse chain. That's
yeah,
really exciting.
yeah, exactly. When is that going to be? I can't wait. Um, yeah,
Do you want to throw out your estimate like on stream? Let's see if you're gonna be right. What do you think?
I like the numbers 1228.
So like
I'm pushing. I'm manifesting this year.
this year, December.
Yeah.
Okay, I would agree with that too. I would think right before the end of the year.
Hmm.
Yeah,
But yeah, I can see it being sooner if they can get it out sooner. But I definitely think that would be an amazing way to either end the year or start the year. So
yeah.
around
Do you
that
think?
area.
Are you of the opinion that he's like? Is he really like? Are you of the opinion that he's like? If he was able to, he'd get it out the door ASAP, or do you think he's trying to like time the market or time the documentary or scheming that way?
I don't think like I feel like there's way too much hype and people are like way too interested to be holding on to it for any other reason than it just needs those final like finishing touches.
So you
But
think as soon as those are done, he'll just publish it? He's not going to like time it for anything, the bottom or the documentary.
see, you know what? It would be smart to do that for marketing reasons, but like
Right.
I'm being someone who wants to be on a like be a part of the chain. I want it to come as soon as possible. So,
Yeah.
I guess like my personal answer I want him to release it as soon as possible, but it would make sense to do a little bit of planning with the marketing and align that up, as they
Yeah.
say. So, what about you?
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. I really don't know. I similar to you, I hope it's not like he's delaying it for the perfect time. But it's possible if he wants like the perfect chart, right? He wants to have it launch at the bottom and then just go straight up. So I don't know. Yeah.
I feel like Richard is like a super like straightforward guy too, though. Like I feel like if
Yeah,
it's ready, he'd be like, "It's ready, and we're waiting for something."
exactly. He's not the type that's really scheming or trying to
Yeah,
really, game the system. Like I think he's really honest. So
he seems like a cool guy.
yeah, yeah. So did someone get you into Hex, or did you just find it out on your own?
So a little bit of both. Like I kept hearing about it, and then it was just like one of those things where like it came up in my Twitter feed, and I'm just like, "What's this?" and just kind of like fell into that rabbit hole.
Oh, Twitter. That's interesting.
Yeah,
I don't
I
I don't
find
usually hear
that
about
they
Twitter,
have a
but yeah,
huge X community on
of
Twitter.
course, yeah,
Yeah, so and they've been like super helpful. They actually like I feel like a lot of my knowledge has come right from the community, rather than any kind of other source. So I'm really thankful for it. All of you guys who help everybody out here.
yeah. The neat thing about Twitter is through this bear market, there's obviously a lot of communities, a lot of tokens out there, but I've seen the communities just dwindle to like next to nothing. So like their engagement, their activity of like I don't know, these are Doge or whatnot are just like down like that. Whereas a Hex, it's been steady, if not even climbing up to the bear market. So that's
Yeah,
really neat. So
yeah,
nobody can deny that Hex is a strong community.
yeah, absolutely. Very strong community. And I'm like super happy to be a part of it. I feel like it's a great time to get into crypto right now. And it would have been a great time to get into crypto a couple years ago, but hey, beggars can't be choosers.
Yeah, well, I mean, I thought about that like that thing too of like, oh, what if like, oh my God, I was there at launch. Why didn't I like push the trigger? Why didn't I just put in $100? Because like at 10,000x, $100 is $1 million, you know?
Yeah,
Um, but I think the way I cope with that is I think, I believe in like destiny, so
me too.
if it's not meant to be, it's not meant to be. So like I think for some people like 10,000x is like in the cards, and maybe for other people like just 100x or 50 or like let's see what hex will do. But I just think it's like
And it could
destiny,
be
maybe like
timing.
yeah,
No, I love that. And it could be timing too. It could be just like not in your cards yet. Or it could
right,
have that could have been the catalyst to what your actual destiny is, being,
right.
who you are and doing your consultations and bringing people aboard on Hex.
True.
So
Yeah.
that's pretty
Yeah, that's
cool.
that's a really good point. Yeah, it's like everything happens for a reason. I think the people that took advantage of it are blessed. And you know what? Besides the people that capitalize on the opportunity and have like hodled and not sold too early and played everything perfectly, I can tell you a lot of horror stories. Like here's one for example. So I went to the first ever Hex meetup in Las Vegas. I made a vlog about it. I kind of got a little bit of notoriety, but like by documenting that first meetup. And I spoke to a gentleman at that meetup that originally had, I believe, 100 million hex tokens since the beginning. So he was there at launch, and he just dollar cost average and acquired about 100 million hex tokens. But then through 2020, he just started messing with it. He just started jumping in and out of different things, like jumped into this and then jumped back to hex, and then jumped into this coin and jumped back into hex. And then through the first year, his stack went from 100 million tokens to 5 million tokens just from messing with it.
That is a
So,
huge, oh my goodness. That's crazy.
yeah. And like now obviously he's like learned his lesson, and but you know what, it's also repeatable because like it's going to keep happening with these up and coming tokens, especially with Pulse Chain and new projects, and even Hedron. um I kind of had something like that with Hedron where you just kind of don't expect it to do these crazy pumps, and you just get left behind if you sell too soon. So it's just like how Richard says, like don't trade, just hold, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like that's the best advice too. People get scared and they want to get out as soon as possible, but they just have to ride it through, and good things will happen to those who wait and hold on. So, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm really
I,
excited to see what
I mean,
happens.
investing is very emotional. Like investing in anything. It could be something in traditional markets. It could be holding on to the house you bought or the condo or whatnot. People can get overwhelmed by it and then make irrational decisions. So, and I think, well, my next question to you is going to be, what's your favorite feature? And I think a lot of people would say obviously the staking component because it removes that emotion, right? And just leads to making more rational decisions because you can perhaps like break up your investment and like split it up over time, and then all that matters to you at that point is what is hex worth when it gets end staked, right? It doesn't matter what's going to be what it's worth today or in a week or in a month. You don't have to worry about the price and get caught up in these roller coasters. You just have to worry about what's the price when it comes out a year from now. So what's your favorite component of Hex or aspect of it?
You honestly said it. I think that like being weighted by time is just such a great feature, especially for beginners who like it's hard to really know what like to watch the dips and everything. So I think something being weighted by time, holding on to it is what creates value. That's really beneficial to me who doesn't really quite understand everything yet. So
Yeah, I would say for me, my favorite aspect of it is the fact that it's primarily traded on a decentralized exchange. Me being somebody who's a little bit more libertarian and wants as like less intervention by the state as possible, and
yeah.
wants it in the control of the people by the people. I love seeing that a token like this can exist in a peer-to-peer environment where you really there's no middlemen. You don't have to register anywhere. You don't have to KYC. You just go on the web, and through these pools, through these liquidity pools, you could exchange whatever you have for these hex tokens and vice versa. And it's just a very like I don't know, democratized way of you know doing finance. So I like that component.
Yeah, that's amazing. I feel like decentralized exchange is definitely going to be the future. And anyone who doesn't think so, they just don't know about it enough yet, is really what it is.
I mean, it's unfortunately like it's at risk with these freaking government, interventions, like how the government like blacklisted Tornado Cash recently, and all
Yeah.
that is just a protocol. It's a smart contract, so they were able to like blacklist a smart contract on Ethereum. So I don't know. I mean, as much as like Hex is not a security and shouldn't really be in the crosshairs of the government, I mean, and I mean, one way of looking at it is kind of like the Fed. It's competing with the Federal Reserve. So I don't know. Eventually, they could outlaw whatever they want to outlaw. So I don't know.
That's fair. They're just putting up with us for now.
Yeah, but yeah, we'll see how it unfolds. And yeah, the future. I think obviously, like the goal is to still get like mainstream crypto adoption. I think Bitcoin's still far from reaching its like massive adoption.
Yeah.
So I think there's still a lot of runway to get normal people into crypto and get them into Ethereum, get them into Bitcoin. And then as more of them look into this, especially perhaps if like inflation's out of control and people are looking for maybe I don't know, hard to say a store of value because like crypto's been like correlated to the stock market recently, but I don't know if people are looking for like to hold their assets, you know, on on a blockchain, for example, and they look into crypto, eventually they'll make their way down the rabbit hole to the point where they find out about Hex and Pulse Chain and our ecosystems.
Yeah. Hopefully we can speed that process up to them and just bring them right to the door of Hex. So
Yeah.
that'd be
So
great.
so what's your opinion on like Pulse Chain? How familiar are you with it? Are you excited for anything specifically on Pulse Chain?
I was just gonna ask you the same thing. I am excited. So I've heard of a few projects, but I haven't really done my research into any of them enough to really kind of put them like speak for them on air. But I would love to hear your thoughts. Is there anything coming out on Pulse Chain that you're excited for?
Oh, so many things. I sacrificed for a bunch of different little projects. And my lesson, I mean, I think the biggest lesson I learned, and I can perhaps pass on the audience, is, when I said no to Hex day one, where I just like turned my back on it, the lesson there should have been even though you don't fully comprehend the opportunity, because like a certificate of deposit went over my head, and being a millennial, like I had no idea what a certificate of deposit is. In Canada, I think the closest thing would be like a RRCP or a GIC. I think a GIC is the closest thing to a CD is what we have. My lesson would have been to even though like the opportunity may be like unclear, is still like bet on the people behind it. So I should have still at least put in $100 or $1,000 or whatever I could have afforded, and still put my money on Richard because I knew he was like a sure thing. But because I didn't understand it, it kind of turned me off. But I mean, it's got to be a really good judge of character to place a bet just on the solely on the person or on the team behind the project. But that's what I've been doing lately with the Pulse Chain launch and different projects coming. I've been more so weighing my options on the people behind them, like listening to the interviews, getting into the Telegram groups, kind of monitoring them, seeing how they interact with, haters, with fans, how what's their experience like, and just kind of off of that, making my calibrating my investment decisions. The best one that's worked out has been Hedron. When Hedron was announced, and actually I found out about it like really early on because I moderate the Canadian Hex community. Shout out to t.me/hex_Canada. So we do meetups all over Canada. I founded it and have some moderators that are based in Toronto. And we had a show while I was out in Mexico. And this is a long story, but anyways, like I put together a little hex house in Mexico over the winter. We had a bunch of Canadians there. Anyways, and we had a show, and Blue Bum, who's one of the moderators in Hedron, came on and told us about Hedron. And back then, Hedron had like 100 people in the group chat. And just him coming on our Canadian show and telling everybody about Hedron, we got like an early scoop on it. And that led me to like investigate the founder, Alex. And then just by interacting with him and watching him on shows, gave me a good feeling. And then since then, I put a really big bet on Hedron, and luckily it's paid off. So betting on Alex, even though Hedron is like very complicated, paid off well. And since then, some of the Pulse projects that I've been really excited about, that I've also similarly based my opinion on the people behind them, have been PulsePot, PulsePot.io. They're like an on-chain gambling website. Uh, but so what's really unique about them is like there's a website called freepulse.io, and it's going to be like an off-chain gambling website where you can kind of log on and play different roulette games, like different gambling games, just to satisfy your urges.
Mm-hmm.
um, but it doesn't really interact on the blockchain. You have to deposit your money, and then you just interact on the website, and then you pull your money out, and that's the only interaction it has with the blockchain. Whereas Pulse Pod, they're going to be the first ones that are going to be where like everything is on the blockchain. It's like all the probabilities, all the games are on the blockchain, and in line with Richard's you know guide for a product, they're all going to be smart contract games. They're going to be audited. So again, there's no middlemen. It's immutable, and it's all on chain. So there's no there's no like house edge. There's no inside. You know, yeah,
Advantages. Yeah.
advantages, yeah, weird stuff like that. They're like all the games are smart contracts. They're audited, and it's super fair, and that's going to lead to a lot of activity on Pulse Chain. So I'm betting on them because would prefer again. I mean, gambling is like honestly one of the best cases for Pulse Chain because it's going to go through a lot of transactions and thus lead to the burning, which would lead to the scarcity of it. So I think gambling is going to be really important for Pulse Chain, and Pulse Pot's going to do it on chain. And besides like the simple gambling games you can think of, like a roulette wheel or like some probability thing, they're really like reaching high to stuff like sports betting. So
Okay.
sports betting is huge in North America. There's really big companies behind it, and because this is decentralized sports betting, you can essentially become the market maker and create the spreads. So you actually post the games that you want participants to bet on, and control the spreads and stuff like that.
Wow, that's
Um,
really cool.
yeah, and it's really innovative, and it's really neat. And they actually have like like concrete timelines. So even though they don't know when Pulse Chain is going to launch, while they're waiting for Pulse Chain to launch, they're actually launching on different chains,
Oh, cool.
um, just to get a proof of concept and
Yeah.
also help get adoption. Like if they launch in Binance Chain, that should also lead to adoption to Pulse Chain because they'll say, "Oh, hey, like if you guys like this, why don't you hop on Pulse Chain?" So they're really neat. The other one I'm super excited about, and I've been going on shows and talking about it recently, is a token called
Oh,
UpToken.pro. So I actually made a website for it. Like I'm not affiliated with the team or the founder. I'm not even a moderator in the chat. But
just a fan, I guess. Yeah.
yeah, I'm just a fan. So I actually put together a little website for them because they're all about wanting to be community driven. Um, they're a unique token because for their sacrifice, which is currently live, they're not going to have any team allocation or any founder tokens. So typically, with these sacrifices happen or these like money raising like rounds happen, there's
Mhm.
always like a piece of the pie that's dedicated towards the team, the marketing, but in their case, they're not having any uh, portion go towards the team, so it's a
Mhm.
very fair distribution, and that's why they're very community driven. So the founder doesn't go on shows; they just kind of put out the idea, put out the concept, and now everybody's like participating. And my participation was creating a little website. It's a simple website, just aggregating the links and just a little bit of the info.
So simple.
So it's uptoken.pro, and to briefly explain it, essentially it's going to be a token that um, like on Pulse Chain, there's going to be something called liquid loans, and liquid
Okay.
loans is going to be a protocol. It's going to let you borrow. It's going to let you collateralize your Pulse Chain tokens to borrow stablecoin against it. And there's a gaming mechanism where you could kind of recycle um, the stablecoin you pull out to buy more Pulse Chain tokens to collateralize it, pull out more stablecoin, and keep rinsing and repeating. It's obviously like it can be seen as taking on leverage because you're leveraging your money, but if enough people do it and it ends up being like very price appreciative, then
Mhm.
everyone would be very safe. Um, and what UpToken does is it just manages this process through something called the USDL strategy. So if somebody goes down the rabbit hole, this will all make sense. But basically, it's a way for people in layman's terms, UpToken and either sacrificing for it or buying the token is a way to get exposure to the pulse chain price appreciation. So in case you missed the pulse chain sacrifice, um, this is, in my opinion, the next best thing. And that with this up token, the funds are going to be used to buy pulse chain, and and then and then it's going to utilize this liquid loan strategy to kind of leverage up its assets. Um, but part of the yield that it generates is going to go towards a buy and burn in order to make the token a lot more scarce.
Yeah.
So in essence, not only is it going to track the pulse chain price appreciation, but it's going to be tracking it at an exponential rate because at a certain point the yield is used to buy and burn the token, make it a lot more scarce. So it's again not financial advice or no expectations of profit from the work of others, but um, I'm really excited about it. Who knows how it'll unfold, but it's definitely one that I'm keeping an eye on. And like I said, it's the sacrifice is still open for it, unlike a lot of other projects. So I recommend people look into it. Uptoken.pro.
Yeah, if you send me those links, I will definitely put them in the description of the video when I post it because that sounds really interesting. I'm going to check them out myself. I appreciate your time so much. I'm not sure if my internet's going to allow us to continue much longer. It's definitely misbehaving, but I love your advice. Sometimes, looking into the people behind the project is just important as looking into the project itself, and
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to take that to heart. Um, is there anything else that you'd like to say, or you would like to kind of shout out to before we end the night here?
Um, I mean, something I'm really proud of is I hosted the first ever Hex House. So over the winter, I brought 7 hexagons together from all over the world to live together in Mexico. I documented it on my profile. There's photos on my YouTube channel. There's videos.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest accomplishment with bringing together hexagons has been to show the world that there are actually crypto communities that are thriving. Not everybody is just anonymous, living in the basement, you just shit posting on Twitter all day. There's actually people that are able to get, you know, some financial stability, some financial freedom. It's different for everybody in order to afford, coming together and meeting with like-minded people without ever having any interaction with them prior. Like these are seven strangers that came together from different parts of the world, including Switzerland, Norway, America, Canada, Mexico, Germany, and without any prior interaction, just came together, met up, and got along. It's like we knew each other, for years, and we had inside jokes, and we had the same interests, the same outlook on life, um, and I'm very proud of that.
I love that. That is what I'm going to watch right now. That is so cool. Are you doing something like that again? Are you thinking of doing something like that on a bigger scale?
Well, like I mean, like you being familiar with what's going on in Canada and what went on like last winter, like obviously there was some problems that that motivated us to get up and go. So fingers crossed, we don't have to resort to fleeing the country again. But
Yeah.
but yeah, that's always an option. So yeah, that's all we have, and that's why they fled from their parts of Europe, right? Because they
Yeah.
weren't really agreeing with what was happening. So
It was nice that you could all like conjugate in one area and have a good time and
yeah.
just, yeah,
Well,
enjoy that.
I put out the call, and they're like, yeah, I'll be there like next weekend, So I just put out a call on
You're like,
Twitter,
okay.
yeah, on Twitter and YouTube, and it just happened. So again, just shows the brilliance of our community. How not only is it brilliant, like in terms of online community, but that community is just as real in person. It's actually real people with good intentions, great morals, great ethics that are able to cohabitate and really enjoy each other's company, and everyone's like a little mini Richard, where everybody wants to be philanthropic and they want to be educational. And we were onboarding, like I was going out to events where I was speaking about Hex, and I would love the gasps people would have when I told them that one day Hex will exceed Bitcoin's market cap. Um, so I had a lot of fun, talking about it. But besides that, we onboarded a lot of Mexicans. I had a colleague that even brought treasures for Mexicans because he wanted
Nice.
them to have proper security. So, like,
That's awesome.
the treasure costs more than they're even holding, right? But because this person is such a believer in Hex and what it will become, that he wants to invest in the people, and they were like young people in Mexico, like my age, um, that even though like they're only investing, what they can afford, and that could be like $50 or $100, um, he still wants them to be secure because he knows what that could eventually become in the future. So
That's amazing. That is so cool. Thank you again so much for coming and talking to me tonight. Will you let everybody know where we can find you online one more time?
yeah, on Twitter, Telegram, Stakewealth.com if you want to learn about Hex, or more importantly, if you have any family members or friends that are on the fence about it and they'd like to speak to someone that can overcome their objections. Because I've done this for so long that I know every single objection that there is, and I can talk them through it. So on stakedwealth.com, it's a resource for onboarding. These stickers, they lead to my website. I figured that with the hex.com, it's a little bit too general. So instead, I created my website that I figure helps people go from like step 1 to 10. And then UpToken is
Love
one
it.
I'm really passionate about. It's available. It's going to be available on Pulse Chain. It has great fundamentals, really fair distribution. Unlike a lot of projects that have like allocations for founders and teams and marketing, and have like whales and have like big fish in their supply. You should see our pie chart of supply
Yeah.
distribution, and it's the most distributed, most decentralized, the most fair supply distribution. So I think it's for the little guy. We so far we've generated about a little over 300K in sacrifice, which is not a lot for a lot of the pulse chain projects. So it's really meant for the little guy, to empower the little guy to get exposure to pulse chain and participate in potentially really positive price appreciation for the up token, if pulse chain is successful. So that's what I'm really
Yeah.
passionate about nowadays, and telling people about that.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that with me. I feel like I've learned a lot of information here, and I'm definitely gonna go check out Up Token and see if I can get in on that sacrifice.
Of course.
So
Yeah.
again, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well,
We'll
have a
stay in
good night.
touch.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks. You
Yeah,
too.
yeah. I'll message you on Telegram.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye. Well, thank you guys for coming to hang out. This is Off the Blockchain with Stevie Jane O'Coin, where I break down cryptocurrency in a fun and digestible way for all of you who want to jump into. Anyway, I love you. Bye.